Charlie Kirk, ladies and gentlemen, says that white men are continuing to not get a fair shake in the United States of America. And he's sick and tired of it. Here it is.
Not a single member of the Biden regime would dare to go to this portion of Ohio and breathe in the air because they know it's dangerous. They know that it is actively poisoning the citizens of Eastern Ohio. So why is it that they kind of shrug their shoulders and they say, yeah, okay, whatever? It's very simple. It's because the war on white people continues. Why would you care for the white working class voters in Eastern Ohio? You haven't cared about them in other reasons or other portions, and I will prove it to you. If this train derailment happened in downtown Atlanta, in the densely populated black neighborhoods, this would be the #1 news story. It would be Flint Water Crisis 2.0. There would be clamoring and activism and talks for reparations. And Buttigieg, meanwhile, is out there saying, listen, while this derailment is happening, while the act of poisoning is happening, he's saying, look, the problem is that workers are too white.
We have heard way too many stories from generations past of infrastructure where you got a neighborhood, often a neighborhood of color, that finally sees the project come to them, but everyone in the hard hats on that project looking like, doing the good-paying jobs, don't look like they came from anywhere near the neighborhood.
Right.
You can build community wealth that will help close wealth gaps in this country if we can tear down those barriers. But that happens at the delivery level.
So Buttigieg is out talking about how workers are too white. For the last couple of years, I have been warning about this crusade against white people, and people shrug their shoulders and say, oh, Charlie, why does that matter? I could tell you why it matters. When there's a crisis now and the leaders hate working class whites, they're not going to scramble to save your life. They'll lie to you and tell you to go back home while you're poisoned.
Fascinating. Charlie Kirk, let's be honest, dear brother. The only person who has a job because of the color of his skin is you. Let me put it another way. If I had your talent, Charlie Kirk, I would be one thing: unemployed. All right. Let's put up the picture full mass here. The mediocre Charlie Kirk says there is a war on black men. On the Monday edition of his show, he claimed that the lack of attention by President Biden to the situations connected to white people and white communities is an indication of something even more sinister: white genocide. Isn't this interesting? And he directed his anger at the Secretary of Transportation over a conference held on Monday, where Pete Buttigieg said something really simple: I believe in diversity. Now I'm going to draw a parallel in just a moment. In the Secretary's criticism of non-diversity in the workforce, he talked about reflection of community, having a workforce and a local community that reflects the local community, something that Republicans have actually championed a time before. While Kirk took his criticism to the realm of conspiracy, progressives are demanding that US Transportation Secretary improve rail safety regulations in response to the unfolding public health disaster in East Palestine, Ohio. We've covered this, which critics say was entirely avoidable. That's right, it's an infrastructure issue. Who took money out of that? Republicans did. Who wanted more money for it? Progressives did. Who wanted more jobs because of this infrastructure dynamic needed in our country? Progressives. Who wanted those jobs to be, paying jobs that took care of your actual bills, called living wages? Progressives did. You see, Charlie Kirk, if you actually analyze what you're saying, you will realize that the conservative movement you are a part of championed the various policies that you are now against. The progressives are the ones who said more money needs to be allocated to these programs in order to prevent these disasters from happening. And when did it become a bad thing? to have a community proud of its diversity. What was that bad? There's more. Buttigieg made his first public statement on Monday night, 10 days after the 150 car derailment that was on the 3rd of February, led to the release of highly dangerous chemicals into the air and the soil. Once again, something we are against. Let's go to Jeff Hoser, executive director of the Revolving Door Project, said Tuesday in a statement, and I quote, "The Obama administration attempted to prevent dangerous derailments like the one you just saw by mandating better brake systems on freight trains." But he also noted the effort was weakened due to what? Corporate pressure. First, by writing in many exemptions to the proposed rules, and then under Trump, by repealing the requirement altogether. Once again, Charlie Kirk, if you did your research, you would know that the genesis of your complaint comes directly from corporate interest and your beloved former president, Donald Trump. There's more. Recent reporting from The Lever revealed that the Department of Transportation has no intention of reinstating or strengthening the brake rule rescinded under Trump. Additionally, The Lever reports that the train was not being regulated as a high hazard flammable train, despite it clearly being both high hazard and flammable. These types of failures to protect the public are invited by perpetual lax enforcement and laziness toward even getting back to the too low regulatory standards under Obama. He also condemned Buttigieg for continuing the legacy of his predecessor. Norfolk Southern's environmental disaster is the latest in a long string of corporate malfeasance committed right under the secretary's nose, and I agree. He also observed, referring to the company that owns the derailed train, as I've warned before, corporations do not respect Buttigieg as a regulator. He added, and I quote, "Buttigieg should call out the brake rule repeal for the horrendous decision it was. Start working to implement a new rule. Take them to task and push back on corporations deciding how the Department of Transportation regulates them. Anything short of that only signals to the railroads that this type of incident will in fact be tolerated." Let's go to an environmental activist, Aaron Brockovich, also joined in demanding action. Doing better than your predecessor is not enough, ladies and gentlemen. The Biden administration needs to get more involved in this. I agree. We are counting on you to break the chain of administration after administration to turn a blind eye. Step up now. Why are they not stepping up? Corporate interests, the same people that gave money to Trump, gave money to Biden. The same interests are there in this scheme we know as a duality or a political system, a two-party political system. The reality is the reason why we only have two parties is because it makes it simple for corporations to buy them both. If you actually had the variation of political ideology contextualized through a spectrum of belief systems and credible partisan platforms, you would have 88 political parties in the United States of America. It would be very difficult for a corporation to purchase all 88 of them every cycle. So what do? They have this hand in glove relationship. A two-party system is easy to manipulate. You buy them both. That way you win no matter who wins, right? Who loses in that scenario? You and me. We are secondary in the decision-making process, even though we are the ones who hold the right of the vote. Jeff, thoughts here?
I'm glad you took time and made it a point to call out Pete Buttigieg, because we're just months away from his failures and neglect with the airline industry as well. So not going great with him. And I don't want whatever I'm about to say after this to be as if I'm not focusing on Biden either. He's beholden to corporations. He puts profit over people as well. Capitalism has a lot to do with this. However, Charlie Kirk, if anyone has a war on white people, it is Republicans. The governor here in the great state of Ohio is a white man who's a Republican. The 2 senators here in the great state of Ohio are white men who are Republican. They are neglecting East Palestine too. So I don't know why he wants to be oppressed so bad. Like, just come out and say it. The same reactionary nonsense that they're spitting now is what we've been saying for decades. Environmental racism, they denied that it was an actual thing. And now when it affects rural white people, rural conservative white people, now they have the same thing to say. It's like when black people were complaining about the FBI for 90 years, and then when it impacts them, that's when they want to say something. It's the same thing. You're not oppressed. You're not oppressed. Stop begging for it so much, please.
And it is interesting, the FBI thing only changed, not really when it impacted them, but when it impacted somebody that they loved, Donald Trump. All right, that's when it changed.